A lot of owners confuse exit planning with selling their business. I get asked a lot, well, do you help me sell my business? No, I don't. I don't help you sell your business. I help you get ready to sell it. Uh, I've always said that, selling a business is just a transaction, right? It's keys for cash. Exit planning is aligning your personal, financial, and business goals so you can exit your business, or eventually it'll be a sale, or it could be a transfer to to a family member, whatever. We'll just call it a sale uh, at some point. But it's not just your EBITDA. A lot of owners today are getting pretty smart on EBITDA, which I think is a good thing. But I mean, it's more than that. I always say the money's in the multiple, and the multiple isn't just something that pops up. And I mean, anyone that says, yeah, small business sells for X multiple, well, I don't think they really know what they're talking about. Now, true, you can derive an average from any group of numbers, but you can really impact your multiple if you get into a good comprehensive exit plan.
Yeah,
And
I love that because on one hand, people will say, "What's my business worth?" And I'll say, 3 to 7x, just kind of like that's the range, just more or less. But then that I think owners hear that they don't realize if you have $1 million EBITDA business, 3 to 4x is $1 million. 3 to 5x is $2 million. So like because we talk in multiples, it's like 3, 4, 3.5, 4.2. Like they don't realize that could be hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars you're talking about here. So it is. So you mentioned owners calculating EBITDA. That's interesting. I haven't noticed that trend. What I've seen is owners will calculate their EBITDA and it's almost always wrong. So I advise them not to calculate it and not to have their CPA calculate. Get someone third party who understands M&A to calculate it. Don't call me. I'm not gonna do it for you. Let's get someone who's great at it to do it for you. But let that person do it because this is when we say 3 to 4x, it sounds like 3 to 4x, no big deal. You're getting 3 cans of soup or four. No, it's $3 million or $4 million, and so that's what I've seen.
exactly, yeah. And when I say owners are getting smart on EBITDA, I mean they can at least tell you what it means. Whereas 10, 15 years ago, it was a lot of explaining and a lot of pushback from owners. But uh, what the approach that we take is, we tell owners that we can 90 days we can give you an enterprise value assessment. That'll include a an assessment of your personal, financial, and business goals. It'll which is really where we derive the risk component of it, and we'll give you a valuation, and then we will produce an action plan for you to how you can achieve your goals. I like to say the EVA is something that we tell you where you are now, where you want to go, and how you're going to get there. And that's typically our first project with any client, is helping them understand where they are now, figure out where they want to go, and how they're going to get there. It doesn't really, to me, it doesn't really matter what you sell your business for if you don't know if it's enough, right? So we spend an awful lot of time working with owners on figuring out what those personal goals are. We call it a life after business plan. Uh, Work with them to figure out what it is they want to do. It's a little extensive, but I think it's well worth it, because, like I said, if you don't know what you want, you don't know if your business is enough. So we'll start with that, personal uh, objectives or goals. Then we'll go down into the financial and say, okay, you know where you want to be, right? When all's said and done, this is the lifestyle you want to live. What's that going to cost? And we help them figure out how much money do I need to achieve that lifestyle. And then finally, we look at the business and say, okay, in that financial piece, we look at what we call it a wealth gap. What's the difference between what it is you have now and what you need, not including the business, right? And then when we look at the business, we know what kind of gap that business has to contribute in order for the owner to reach their personal goals. And a lot of time, yeah, I don't remember when it was, but I was working with an owner who got a little exuberant in the risk profile that we were working on, and the valuation didn't support it. Uh, so he kept asking, "Well, what do I have to do with the business in order to meet that?" I said, "Well, first we got to go back and we have to reassess what that risk profile is, because you're coming up into a category, a business peer benchmark of someone that's making $1 million more than you are in EBITDA, and that's going to be a huge red flag for you know for a broker or an IB or whoever you're going to help do that. So that's kind of how we approach it. We start the planning with personal, financial, and then business, and then the execution, of course, goes business to meet the financial to achieve the personal.